Guys, I'm here with another process video. This time I'm using the Celebration kit from Scraptastic, which is the August kit. And this kit is birthday themed, but I'm not going to be scrapbooking a birthday picture for this one. And in fact, I'm not going to be scrapbooking many birthday photos this month, so I'm going to be challenging myself to use this kit in a non-themed way. I might do one or two birthday layouts. So I have picked out this variegated kind of ombre effect paper that goes from a really beautiful dark blue to a very light blue. And I love this paper. I love that it's mostly dark blue. And I'm thinking about framing my photo or matting my photo on this really dark piece of paper, but it's looking a little too purpley for what I'm wanting for this layout. So I'm going to use this black and white polka dot instead. And this paper is from Pebbles from the Birthday Wishes collection. And I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm just going over to my trimmer to just trim down the mat. So that's what that looks like once it's been matted. And now here I'm using one of these bags as a piece of pattern paper behind. And I really love using bags as layers because they just have a different texture to them than pattern paper does. And I'm actually completely forgetting as I do this layout, I'm completely forgetting that my challenge for this layout is actually to use a monochromatic color scheme. So I'm going to remember that at some point during this layout, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to go a little ways down this line before I realize, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be using all one color. So then I think, okay, now I have to pick a color. And that is quite a challenge with this kit. I know Rory and I talked about this before we decided to do a monochromatic challenge for this month, that it would be very, very difficult for people using the Celebration kit this month. And so we decided to go ahead and do it anyways, because sometimes that's what a challenge is about. It's about making it a little bit harder for yourself. So I hope that it's not too hard for everyone. You obviously don't have to use this particular kit. Even if this is the kit you got this month, you can draw from your stash or from an earlier kit to do this challenge. But the challenge is to go monochromatic. So I immediately, as soon as I remembered that I was going monochromatic, I noticed the green in Alexander's shirt. Alexander is kind of center of this photo, so he is sort of the focal point. And I just love the color of his shirt, and it does stand out. So I thought, well, why not just bring that out even more? So I've decided to use green as the color. I also kind of had a look through the papers and noticed that there is quite a lot of green to choose from. And there are only a few tone-on-tone papers, one being that red that's upside down right now with the neutral on the back. It's the back side of the word find paper, and then the other being the green. And so between the green and the red, I decided to go with green for this photo. And I'm sure you could pull out other colors as well from this kit, but the red and the green really did stand out a lot to me, so I decided to pick the green. Rory has done a card using the blue, pulling out blue from the kit, and she also has the Celebration kit, so check out that to see some blue inspiration from this kit. Now, one of the things that I love about this kit is this chevron paper with the patchwork or different pattern papers on the chevron pieces, and so I'm just cutting out a handful of the green ones. I've got 2 strips, and I'm going to cut out all of the green from these 2 strips. And whenever there are 2 greens together, I'm just going to leave them green. And if the green is kind of separated by other colors, I'm just going to cut out the green parts. And I just use my precision scissors for this because it makes it a little bit easier. That last chevron was cut off, so I decided to not use that because I'm going to make these chevrons be fully on the page instead of hanging off the page. I'm just cutting out the number, well, it's actually the number 9, but I'm going to put it upside down as the number 6 because there are 6 people in this photo. I also cut out that wonky 6 from the pattern paper a few minutes ago. I think I was talking about something else while I did it, but there's a pattern paper that has a whole bunch of numbers all over it. It's one of the birthday themed papers, and I just decided to, it might be a 9 also, but I just decided to cut it out because it's kind of funky looking. So now I'm just looking through some of the other embellishments that come in the kit and picking out anything that might be green. So I picked out this that rosette flower from Pebbles, and a whole bunch of those came with the kit, like a whole package, and I thought that would make a really nice green accent. It does have a blue button on it, but what I'm going to do is, instead of threading the button, there's kind of glue showing through the buttons. I talked about that on my kit share video. I've picked out a Stampin' Up! Resin flower in green to put over that button, just to hide the glue pieces and hide the holes of the button which don't have thread in them, and to bring even more green into that embellishment, because I am trying to really focus on green. I don't want the blue to be so dominant on that embellishment. I'm just going through these stickers, which are from Pebbles that came in the kit, and they have a couple of green on them, a couple of green stickers, so I'm pulling those out. And then these are Jelly Bean Soup stickers from the Birthday Bisque collection, I think it's called. And so I'm pulling out any green ones, and I'm just putting them on a piece of wax paper, because that allows me to peel them off when I'm ready to use them, and I can even peel them off and put them back on the sticker label if I want to. I went into my stash for some enamel dots, and then I did a switch. I switched over to some green enamel dots, and I'm just laying out my stuff just to take a quick picture, just in case I want a photo for the blog post. I didn't mean to record that, but it stayed in. So now I'm trying, my idea here is that I love these stickers, and I really want to use them as part of my title. But because I'm going to be picking out just the green ones, I'm not sure what I have the letters to spell. So I'm just going to experiment a little bit. So here I'm just having a look at some of the words I might want to spell. I'm thinking about potentially spelling waterfront, but I don't have all of those letters in green, and it's getting to be a little hard to kind of figure out what I have the words for. So I've decided to just start pulling off the green letters, even though I might not spell these words. So I'm thinking about spelling out together, and in order to do that I have to use some blue letters, which I'd rather just use all green. So then I'm thinking about maybe spelling out East Coast, but again I would need I'm running out of a T, and I don't want just one T to be the wrong letter. So these are my friends from Alberta who were in town last week, and we have this kind of friendship where we were very close when they lived here, and we don't always keep as in touch as we probably should when they're out west, but when they come back we just kind of fall right back into our close friendship and really get along and laugh, and it's kind of like they've never left when they're here. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of document that relationship that we have with this other family, and we've both had our kids since they left, so we really knew each other as childless couples, and our lives have changed quite dramatically, but yet we still have a lot in common, despite the fact that so much has happened since we've been apart. So I took that green paper, and the green paper is from the Pebbles birthday collection. I think it's called Birthday Wishes, and the back side of that has multicolored stripes, and so I just chose the two greens happen to be side by side, along with the same blue that I'm going to bring into a few other places of this layout, just so that it's not all green. because all green could be a little bit themey looking and a little bit kind of overwhelming, like very contrived looking, like I obviously only used green on this layout. So I am putting a couple of strategic other colors. It's really just going to be this light blue color, just to kind of soften up the harshness of a single color layout. So this is my main kind of shape that I'm using on this layout. It's kind of a rectangle over to the right with two arrowy type of chevrons pointing at it from two different right angles that kind of ground it to the background paper in a couple of different ways. One is that all the papers are going to be hanging off of the right side, and then they'll be connected to the other side with those chevrons, and to the bottom with a chevron as well. I don't know if that makes 100% sense, but this is a shape that I do use quite often. I don't know what to call it, it doesn't have a good name, but it's sort of like a rectangle that's grounded in two different ways by chevrons. It's not always chevrons, sometimes it's a stripe or a border piece or something like that, or some stamping. So this black strip is something from the Ormolu cut apart, and it says time flies. It says time flies blink of an eye, and I thought that was really appropriate because the years just seem to fly by since they've moved away, and so much has happened for both of our families, as I was saying before. So I did use my Zig glue pen just to attach the thin chevron, just because it's hard to get my ATG on that little tiny piece, but I'm going to use my ATG for the rest of them. And I'm trying to line these up fairly straight, but it's they're hand cut, so they're not 100% straight anyways. They all have different amounts of beige border around them, and I kind of like that it doesn't look completely manufactured, and it's a little bit not entirely straight. Like, you can tell that those are not all one piece, they're cutouts, and I like that because they are cutouts. If I take the time to cut them out, I want them to look hand cut. So again, I'm going to use my glue pen on the skinny one, and I am only attaching them in the middle so that I can go back and pull them up a little bit. That will help accentuate the fact that they are hand cut. I'm just going to trim off these little pieces that hang off the edge here, and I'm going to stick this tag in. This is a birthday themed tag. I believe it's from Pebbles. It did come in the kit, and the back side of it is this really pretty grid paper. It has a bit of a greenish tinge to it, although I'm not sure why, because the lines on it are actually that same light blue, but it seemed to really fit. I'm pre-writing my journaling. I don't know why I'm doing this, because it didn't actually help very much, because I still didn't write it very grammatically correct. It says, no matter how long it's been, Dana and Melissa are the kind of friends who you can just fall back in with. I guess that sort of makes sense, but I didn't space it very well, and I had to kind of shove the word with off to the side. I'm not 100% happy with how the journaling came out on this one. I wish I had spaced it a little bit differently, but I haven't scrapbooked for a couple of weeks now, and I always find that my first layout, when I get back into it, is always a little off for me. Like, there's always something on it that I'm not 100% pleased with. So here I'm not pleased with the journaling, so I'm kind of thinking about, oh, do I want to try this again? But I really love the tag, so I don't want to try it again, because just having the word with shoved in there isn't that big of a problem. And for some reason the glossy accents didn't dry all that well on that resin flower that's on the rosette, but it's drying now. So sometimes with glossy accents, I think it needs air in order to dry. So if you put it on wet and you stick it on really good, it seems like it really doesn't dry until you lift it up and the air has a chance to get into it, and then you put it back down and it dries super fast. One of the things I love about glossy accents is that it does dry super fast, but I don't know, it's a little hit and miss sometimes when it's too wet, I guess. Maybe I put too much on. So I'm just spelling out the word the using these little sticky keys by October Afternoon. I tend to use the mini markets a lot more than the sticky keys, but I do have a couple sets, so I try to get them used every once in a while. these are the awesome letter stamps that come this month as a separate purchase from Scraptastic. I absolutely love this font, and I definitely want to use this font to fill in the letters that I didn't have in the Celebrate thickers. So I kind of had two different shades of green, and I couldn't decide which shade to use, so I decided to use both. So I'm going to kind of stamp an ombre type of an effect here by filling my stamp with the light color first, and then adding the darker color to the bottom. And I'm not being too careful about blending where the two colors mix, because they tend to just blend nicely on their own. Sorry about my head there. I do have to kind of get myself right above in order to stamp this straight. And I know I'm going to shift these words, these letter stickers down, and I'm going to change the word on to buy, because that doesn't, it was kind of like, my idea was that I would say stroll on the waterfront, but stroll on the water doesn't really make good sense because we weren't on the water, so I'm going to change that to buy. But I'm not going to do that on screen. You'll see that in the photos at the very end. So I'm leaving the letter sticker there, just even though I know I'm going to shift it down, I'm kind of leaving them there to hold space. I did take off the just in case some of these stamps kind of hang down a little bit. I don't want to stamp on the letter sticker. So as I said, I didn't spend a whole lot of time blending those two inks together because they blend pretty okay just by putting them on the stamp. It's pretty wet, and it's the Prima chalk ink that I used for that, and they have come in previous kits as the little freebie that you get when you order 2 kits in a row, and so they are just, I guess, from my stash, but from previous kits. Just use my tiny attacher to stick that sticker on the top there, just as another detail. And now I am going to make a cluster of stickers right here just above my journaling, just to fill up some of that space on the pattern paper. And so I need a different kind of a shape there, so I decided to stick that star in, and then I layered a pebble sticker on top of it that's kind of an asterisk, and then I'm going to put one of these enamel dots in the middle. They're not really enamel dots, they're those kind of faceted, I don't know what, plastic dots from, I think they're from Studio Calico. And I also use the geotag sticker there just for another bit of interest. And I'm going to pop this sticker up, but before I do that, I'm just going to stamp the date using just my regular roller date stamp. And that just comes from the office supply store. And I know if you're in the US, it's hard to find the kind that have the number before the month. I actually went looking for another one of them because so many people were looking for them, and somebody who I know on YouTube was looking, and on Facebook was looking for one, but when I went back to find it, they only have these really expensive fancy roller date stamps now, so I keep checking every time I go, but I don't go all that often, so I'll pick one up if I ever find one, because I know that they're a little bit harder to find in the States. So here I am just sort of arranging these stickers in a way that just looks kind of pleasing or interesting to my eye, and sticking this number 6 down, which again I believe it was intended to be a number 9, but with 6s and 9s you can use them whatever way you want. I'm trying really hard to get that funky number 6 on there, but it's not fitting in either of the 2 cluster areas that I have, so I'm just going to sit on that for a minute. I put it up in the top there just to not forget about it. Going to put a couple more of these faceted plastic dots from Studio Calico in a couple of different places, and these were just from my stash. Again, they're not from the kit, but I think they coordinate quite nicely because it's the 2 shades. It's the green and then that very light greeny blue color that I've been using as an accent. And then what I did was I actually pulled that dark green button off of one of the rosettes. I don't know if you saw that, if that happened on camera or not. But I will still use the rosette, but I will put another button on it, maybe one from my stash or something else on that rosette. I'm going to use some some dimensional adhesive here. I use Pop Dots from Stampin' Up! As my main dimensional adhesive that I like to use. And so there, I'm just going to cover the holes of that button because it's on a couple of different layers of things and I don't want to have to try to sew in it, and plus they're yeah, I didn't want to have to sew in it, so I just covered the holes up with a larger enamel dot, or I guess it's a faceted plastic dot. I don't know what they call those because I threw away the packaging. So one last attempt to find a place for this 6, and then I decided, you know what, it didn't look too bad in the place that I had just set it just to wait. So I'm going to put that sticker down there for good and put the number 6 there for good. And then that sticker gives me a place to journal. And the journaling just says, Livy was still at a sleepover from the night before, which left 6. So that just kind of explains the person who's missing from the photo, just so that when we look back on this in future years, we're not kind of wondering what happened to Livy. This was a selfie that Scott took. He had the longest arm of any of us, so we all kind of scooched in by this bench, and there was a nice, beautiful, tall ship behind us. It didn't have its sails up, but it was really nice here and there. Look at my fingers going. This is me thinking. um, yeah, so I'm basically trying to decide here, is there anything else that I need to do? And I'm not going to do anything else. I thought about adding some sewing, but I just decided that there's enough going on this layout. I don't need to sew on it. And I forgot to show you guys the close-up where I actually put it up and show you all the pieces, but here are some of the photos. So today's challenge, this week's challenge I guess, is to use a monochromatic color scheme on your layouts. And so if you want to participate with this challenge, head on over to the Scraptastic blog. The link is in the information for this video, and check out the details on how to participate. Have a really great scrappy week, everybody.